Amid the intensifying immigration crackdown, the Trump admin is now offering undocumented immigrants $1,000 to self-deport using a government app. The Department of Homeland Security said that deporting immigrants this way is 70% cheaper than arresting, detaining, and removing them forcibly. According to a news release, those who use the CBP Home app to leave voluntarily will also receive free travel assistance from DHS. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem said that this move will save taxpayers thousands of dollars per deportation and reduce pressure on detention centers. Notably, the CBP Home app helps immigrants plan their departure and alerts officials, who then deprioritize them for detention. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem called it the safest, most cost-effective way to leave the U.S. and avoid arrest. The $1,000 stipend is only paid after DHS verifies that the individual has completed self-deportation. According to DHS, a standard deportation costs over $17,000, while the self-deportation route costs about $4,500. Critics say this plan rewards illegal entry with taxpayer money, while DHS argues it's fiscally responsible. Remember, millions of people entered the country illegally under the Biden administration, and now Trump is focused on deporting those with criminal charges. In addition, the Trump administration has put a primary focus on deporting individuals with criminal convictions and charges against them, on top of being in the country illegally. This includes transferring some alleged MS-13 and Tren de Aragua gang members to a prison in El Salvador, as the two groups were designated as foreign terrorist organizations by Trump.
We're going to treat everybody the same. Regardless of who they are, the laws will apply equally, and we will have the scales of justice back in place, but also understands that this may be difficult for some families, that families will be impacted, that some that have been in our country for many, many years, and will be able to stand there with the perspective of a wife and a mom and a grandma and communicate that to people, that we're going to work to make sure that we're not picking and choosing winners, but we're going to do this in a way that makes sense, and we're going to work with the American people to give their country back. I'm thankful he trusted me with that, and the mission of this department is to protect the country and to secure it within its borders and the homeland with integrity and with honesty. And what that means is we're going to be transparent. We're going to talk to you different than we ever have before. We're going to be more accountable. When you say things to me, we're going to run the traps on it and make sure you're telling me the truth. We're going to evaluate your contracts. We're going to make sure you're not taking more money of the taxpayers that isn't supposed to be spent, but that it's going to be deployed in a much more efficient way, and it's going to benefit the men and women who are on the front lines, and that we're going to have their backs finally. We're letting them do their jobs. And what I'd like to do is have every law enforcement officer in this room stand up. CBP, ICE, HSI, Coast Guard, law enforcement, federal, local, and state, stand up and let us give you a round of applause and thank you for all that you've done to protect our country. President Trump wants me to thank you for what you do, and he wants you to be safe, and he wants to make sure that you know that he will help you do your jobs, and is incredibly grateful that you still want to do your jobs after what he says was the poor leadership and the train wreck of Joe Biden hitting this country. So we're going to fix it and help you do your jobs, and I hope that's encouraging to all of you. During one of my trips down to the border when I was still serving as governor, I remember one of our Border Patrol officers and agents saying to me, listen, there's just no consequences for crossing our border. And without consequences, there is no enforcement and there is no law. The law doesn't matter. And that impacted me in such a way that it affects every way that I do this job today. There has to be consequences for breaking our laws. And there has to be consequences, and there has to be enforcement and prosecution. We are going to use every single tool that we have, and I'll run through a couple of those tools that I think are going to change the way that we operate in this country, and that it'll be ways that industry can partner with us. We're using new technologies in ways that we never have before. We're going to deploy new technologies not only at the border, but at our ports of entry and in our interior to make sure that we're sharing information with other agencies at all levels, and we're also going to be sharing more information, biometrics, DNA testing, and being much more efficient, working to get everybody more authorities that they need to be able to take action in every single interdiction that we have. That all of our agents can go in there and deal with what they face, whether it may be drugs or trafficking or breaking of laws that would be impacting a community in different ways that they just weren't empowered to do before. And we'll be deploying and partnering with industry to be more efficient and accountable to make sure that we're making the best use of our time. The CBP One app is one app that was deployed during the last presidential administration that we have completely changed. It was interesting, I did ask the federal government if we took the CBP One app and shut it down on day one, which we did do, how long would it take us to develop an app that would deport people and allow people to self-deport? And the federal government told me, boy, that's probably going to take us 4 to 6 months. So I went to Elon and his guys, and they said, we can do that in 24 hours. And in 24 hours, we had the CBP Home app up that allows individuals to go in there and send them messages from the federal government that says, if you are here illegally now, go home. And soon it will be that you can get on that app, and it'll be not only should you go home right now, but we will help you buy your plane ticket and your travel documents so that you can go today. We are, for the first time since World War II, enforcing the Alien Registration Act. The Alien Registration Act says that if you're in this country for longer than 30 days illegally, you must register with the federal government. And when those 30 days are up, and if you haven't done that, now we can criminally charge you. And we can go in and take you out of your home and deport you out of this country. And every day that you overstay, you are subject to up to $1,000 fine, and that you will be in violation of that. And when we deport you, you may never be allowed back into the United States again. But if you self-deport, and if you leave now and you use that app and you work with us to take you home, you may get the chance to come back and avoid those fines. If you think about people that have been in this country for years, that could be financially devastating to them with those fines and consequences. And that is why we are encouraging people to make sure that we're sending the message out that they need to register, self-deport, and get the opportunity to come back again. We'll have to definitely build out our immigration judges and our immigration courts to facilitate that, but that is something President Trump is definitely focused on making sure we have the resources to do. We also are working hard on enforcing the Alien Enemies Act, which I'm sure you saw the Supreme Court made a decision on yesterday. And we are going to continue to use that to deport the worst of the worst out of our communities and make sure they're facing consequences in their home countries for the actions that they've taken to be involved in gangs that are now foreign terrorist organizations, thanks to the designation that President Trump has given us. We'll continue to go after those with final removal orders and make sure that they are taken out and flown out of this country. And I'm so thankful to our fantastic Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, who has facilitated this with dozens of countries and making sure we have the travel documents we need to get people home. We need the infrastructure and the detention centers to hold people, but we are sweeping up individuals, and we're getting that infrastructure in place and putting this operation on steroids so that we can do it faster and make sure that we're doing our job more effectively for President Trump. We are building the wall. We will be building hundreds of miles of walls. We already have contracts for over the first 85 miles that will be built this year that has been fully funded. And we're going to continue to work with partners that want to help us take the worst of the worst. You probably saw those first couple of plane loads go to El Salvador. I want to close by telling you one story that the president of El Salvador shared with me when I went to visit his prison, CCOT, in the last week when I was there, seeing where those prisoners were housed and how we could partner together. The main reason for my visit to that country was to ask the president if he would continue to take more TDA members, if he would continue to take more MS-13 members and help us hold them accountable. When I sat with him, it was supposed to be a half-hour conversation, and it lasted for over an hour, and there was one story he told me that impacted me and that I wanted to share with President Trump, and I want to share it with all of you today as well. He said, "Secretary, when I was first elected as president of El Salvador, I was elected, but I wasn't sworn in yet, he said, and I came to America with my wife just to have a vacation before I was sworn in. He said, we came to this country without any security. We rented a car. We're driving around Washington, D.C. He said, and of course, as soon as we get to America and we get in our rental car, my wife wants to go shopping and she wants to go to Target. He said, so we get to Target and I'm standing there and I'm waiting for my wife to finish her shopping and I'm watching everybody check out at the store in this great country that is America. And he said, and it's phenomenal. He said, I'm standing there with my arms crossed, watching people in checkout lanes. He said there was 10 lanes there where people were checking individuals out. And then there were these 5 lanes that were self-checkout, where people were going and getting the items that they wanted and then checking themselves out and were trusted to put them into bags and leave the store without any supervision of somebody watching over their shoulder. He said, I thought about the country that I was going to be sworn in as president just when I returned back to my country, and was thinking about the fact that if you did business in El Salvador, you had bars and locks on all of your goods, and you hired security officers to guard that business because the gangs and the cartels would be coming, and they would not only come to rob your store, but they would kill your security officers and your private individuals you had hired to keep you safe. They would come into your store and rob and steal everything inside, kill you as a business owner, and then burn the place down. And he said, and I thought, as I watched in America the difference, he thought, what an amazing country. I want to go home to El Salvador and change my country into what America is. He said he went back and was sworn in, and in just a couple of years, he dramatically changed the future of his country. If you don't know what he has done there, not only has he built this prison and built it in record time, in 7 months built this prison that will hold 40,000 people and designated it as a facility that would only hold terrorists. And he designated these individuals as gang members that were terrorists because they were terrorizing their communities. And then he went after them and enforced his laws to such an effect that within just a couple of years, he took his country from having one of the highest murder rates in the world to the lowest murder rate in the world. And now people in El Salvador can have freedom and have safety, and they're seeing a difference. And I asked him, I said, will you continue to take our dangerous terrorists? And he said, absolutely. I will take as many as you want to send me, because here we have consequences. Here, when they go into CCOT, they will never leave. They will always be here, and they will never leave, and they will face consequences for what they've done.